kiddos. Today we've got a special guest with us to talk about Advent Wreaths. This is Elizabeth Lindy, and she has a special job at church where she helps create the space in worship, and she's going to talk a bit about that. And to begin with, I wanted to ask Elizabeth, how did she get started in making Advent wreaths like this one that I'm going to show you right now that's in the church? How did you start making Advent wreaths, Elizabeth?
I first started making banners and made banners for several years for the church. And then as we were looking at visual space and how we could make it so that people would help in their worship, we decided maybe we needed to do something a little bit different than the traditional Advent wreath that we had. And so my husband helped build the pillars that are there. I am not good with a hammer. And so he helped build those for me. And then we can arrange them in different ways and move them to different places in the church to help us look each Advent kind of with fresh eyes.
That's really neat that you get to move them around the sanctuary, and each year it looks a little bit different. That's really neat. So why do you like to make banners and to find these different kind of Advent wreaths and ways that they lay out in the sanctuary?
I think it's one of those ways that I can share my talents that I have, and it's a way that I worship. And I hope that by setting that visual space that it helps other people in their worship.
Yeah. And sometimes it's kind of like decorating, kiddos. So it's not quite like decorating a tree, but you're decorating the space to create an experience of how you feel in that space. So when you have a tree lit, like I have my tree behind me without lights on it right now, when you light a tree, suddenly it feels a little bit warmer in that space. The same happens when Elizabeth decorates the sanctuary with banners and this Advent wreath. She creates a sense of feeling of the worship experience, right?
And I hope sometimes that it makes you kind of look at some of those things and wonder, and how is this helping my worship? So sometimes people have asked me sometimes to explain a banner, and I will not do that. I want you to look at it because everyone will interpret it in a little different way.
Yeah, kind of like an artist in a painting. But for Elizabeth, you paint on fabric and in the space that you have as your canvas. So this is your painting, and we interpret how God might be speaking to us in this art, which is really special, really special. So where do you get your ideas for these banners and for the Advent wreaths and the setups? Where do you get your ideas from?
Each year I look at the scriptures that we're studying. This year in particular, the talking about the dreamers, and then that led me to think of the stars and looking to the skies. Prayer is part of it, and then sometimes it just mulls in my mind over and over again, and I turn it over and try to come up with things. And then even as I set things up, it doesn't quite do what I want it to do, and so I'll move it and I'll set it up in a different way. Because part of it is that visual space in the church is really huge when you stop to think of it. And I tend to think in small units, and then to translate that into big things is a whole different experience.
So that's something too, that it's trial and error, right? You might not always get it right the first time, but you look at it and you adjust, and then little by little it comes together. I'm going to show a photo right now, kiddos, of what one of those banners that she mentioned, the star banner. There's all these little sequences, can you see them on the banner, where you can kind of see all these little stars that shimmer when we're in worship. And when we talk about the theme this year, those who dream, it's like when you're looking up to the stars and you're dreaming about what's next. That's part of the specialness of having those banners. It can connect to the theme of this year. Well, and I'm wondering, how did you make the wreath that is in the sanctuary right now, the one that we can see in a photo right now. How did you make that?
We got little fairy lights so that we would have kind of that twinkling star feel, and added those. We had the 4 candles, and we will add the Christ candle at the end for Christmas. I used tulle at the bottom because it's airy, it's light. It to me it was clouds and sky. So I think the feeling was to give it a little feeling of stars and nighttime, as well as the candles.
Yeah. See, it's kind of like Elizabeth is an artist, right? The way she thinks about how the lights blink and how the tulle is kind of airy. What a special thing to do that.